This is Mrs. Joyce narrating your spoken language preparation work this week. So, if you have already been into school, you can use this as revision of what we've done in class. If you are not intending to come into school, you can use this as you would any normal video. If you have not been into school yet, but are intending to be in school later on in the week, please stop the video now, wait until you have met your teacher and they will go through this with you, and then you can use this for revision. So over the next few weeks, myself, Mrs. Nason, Miss Hildebrand, Mr. Dennehy, Miss Vandenstein, and Miss Porphyrios are all going to be delivering the same thing to you. We are all working on this together. So even though I'm narrating today, this isn't just for my classes, this is for all of Year 10. We are going to be looking at your spoken language assessment. That is the speech that you have to give to your class about something you feel strongly about. So today what we're going to look at is we're going to look at how we write a speech that people want to listen to and are persuaded by, because we want some interesting speeches. We want you to do really, really well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I've got 5 questions on the board here. Okay, they are: what is an anecdote? What device is being used here? The vast majority of people agree that children should be in education. Number 3, what is a fact? Number 4, what is this an example of? School is boring, tedious, and vital for a successful future. And what is a rhetorical question? I would like you to pause the video now and answer these. Okay, thank you for coming back. So, number 1, what is an anecdote? An anecdote is a personal story that backs up your point. Now, these are really, really useful for bolstering a quite short and dry speech. If you've got nothing but facts and opinions and maybe a little bit of repetition, it's going to be A, very short, B, very boring. Your personal stories bring things to life. They're also very, very good for bolstering a very, very short paper 2 question 5 answer for the language exams, because you're supposed to be writing about your opinion. Well, personal stories make your opinions. Okay. So number 2, what device is being used here? The vast majority of people agree that children should be in education. That is an opinion disguised as a fact, and you could argue that's a hyperbole or exaggeration. So the key words here are vast majority. We cannot check this because it is not specific enough, which means it cannot be a fact. However, it is an opinion that suggests lots of people agree with somebody, i.e. agree with you. So therefore, it is disguised as a fact. And these are really, really useful, because if you want people to agree with you, you need to have your opinion hidden in amongst a load of facts so that people think that your opinion is actually the only one they can have. So what is a fact? Well, a fact is information that can be checked for accuracy. They're usually backed up with statistics, either that or a professional and expert with facts that can be checked. Okay, what's this an example of? School is boring, tedious, and vital for a successful future. That is a tricolon or triplet. Please don't call it a pattern of 3 or a rule of 3. We are better than that. But it's also an example of bathos, because we have 2 points that are in line with each other: boring, tedious, effectively meaning the same thing. And then that third point turns it on its head: vital for a successful future, meaning that you have to do it. Okay, so really, really useful technique there. And what is a rhetorical question? You should all know this by now. It's a question with an implied answer, so no actual answer is expected. So all of these techniques should be things that you are familiar with. But what we are going to do today is we are going to take it to the next level. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. There are 2 parts to what we're doing this week. The first part is we're going to understand what's required from you in your spoken language non-examined assessment. Okay, it's really important you know what you've got to do, otherwise you're going to plan the wrong thing. We're going to define rhetoric. It looks like a weird word, trust me. There are going to be plenty of weird words today. You're going to die laughing at my pronunciation of a lot of them, but we'll get there. And we are going to understand and try out a variety of rhetorical devices in preparation for writing your speech. Part 2 of today's lesson is revise, research, and create an opening for your spoken language speech using your knowledge of rhetoric. So what you are going to do is really important. We're going to I'll go through the ideas today, and then you're going to have the opportunity to write your own. So, your spoken language should be about the following things. You have to write a speech. It's going to be given to your class, and it does have to be filmed. The reason we're doing it now is because it's in a small group. Those of you who are at home, we will explain to you how you are going to be able to do this at a later point. But hopefully by the end of this term, the vast majority of you will have got these spoken language assessments done. They are marked on a pass, merit, or distinction. And they come as almost like a separate certificate. So you have to write a speech of approximately 3 minutes about the following things. Something you feel passionate about, something you want to educate others about, and an area you feel needs to be improved or changed. Now, these can be global. These can be political. This could be something you desperately want to do in the future, a trip you want to take, or maybe a career you want to pursue. Or it could be, I don't know, perhaps something like you've always wanted to go skydiving. Or an area you feel needs to be improved or changed. Now, this could be something that is about the world around you, or it could be about school. It could be about anything, really. But basically, I want to hear something, and we want to hear something that you are passionate about, something you feel strongly about. I would rather hear you tell me about your favourite football team and be really, really, really well versed about that football team and what you love about them and how well they've done this year, how badly they've done previously, and how you want to improve their statistics or whatever. I know nothing about football. Rather that than coming up and telling me that you think Photoshop causes anorexia, but you have no idea why. Okay, something you feel passionate about. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to watch this clip. Now, you will find the link for this clip on Show My Homework, and there will also be a copy of this PowerPoint presentation attached to Show My Homework. So you can click the link and watch it. It's just a 2-minute little animation, and you're going to watch it and you're going to take notes on these two things. What is rhetoric, and what are the main types of rhetoric according to Aristotle? Okay, so pause my video and go and watch the link. Okay, so now you're back. Here we go. This is what you should have come up with. What is rhetoric? So Aristotle have said rhetoric is the art of seeing the available means of persuasion. Sounds very, very, very posh. But in fact, it's literally how to get what you want. Okay, finding the available means. Okay, working out what is going to convince your audience to agree with you. And there are 3 types of rhetoric. Okay, you should have found out that there were 3 types of rhetoric. The first is called forensic or judicial, which is very factual. Okay, and it's usually based upon what has previously happened. So it's usually in the past tense. So in 2010, 25% of all animals that went to slaughter were brutally murdered. I don't know. I'm making this up off the top of my head. Okay. Now, the second type of rhetoric is to do with, it's called epidictic or demonstrative. Okay. It's about proclamation. It's what is happening right now. Right now, outside your window, there is a virus killing people. It's often very over the top, very exaggerative, and it's very stick it in your face. So it's present tense. What is happening right now? And the last one, which is deliberative, or, and here we go with my pronunciation, symboluticon. I prefer deliberative. I'm going to stick with deliberative. Okay, it's political. It's persuasive. Okay, what could be? It's about the future. If we stay indoors, we will all be fine. Future tense. Okay, modal verbs. Should, could. It will happen. Okay, really very powerful. So, now we know what rhetoric is And I strongly suggest you watch that video a couple of times because it will help you to get used to those words. They are complex. You don't necessarily need to know the actual words, but you do need to know what you're doing, okay? Because if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to go off task. You need to stay focused. So, see that lovely little picture there? Beautiful picture of a tree in a forest. I am banning a forest or da forest or whatever the heck you want to call it because we can do better. All the examiners' reports say that they hate the forest with a passion. And it's really very good for getting simple pieces of writing out of students. But you can do better than that, Year 10, because you are awesome. I know, I've seen the evidence. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to read through and try to understand 10 elements of rhetoric. Okay, now I want you to be aware right now, they sound really crazy. Okay, there are some things on here that we've actually got pronunciation guides on them, and I've had to watch them all because I cannot pronounce maybe half of these. Okay, so you get to laugh at me trying to pronounce these really complex words, but they're complex words, but they're actually really easy to use the techniques. And the complex words aren't the important thing. The thing that's important is how you use it. So, your extension on this is you're going to write your own examples for at least 3 of the elements. So after each one I explain, I am going to pause the video so that you can write your own example and then come back. And what we'd really like you to do is we'd really like you to submit some examples of these, especially if you're not in school. If you are in school, you probably will show these to your teacher, okay? So if you're not at school at any point during the week, write some examples, send them to your teachers. We want to read them. Okay, so here we go. Number 1. Epistrophe. I do love an epistrophe, and that is how we pronounce it. It's one of the ones I can pronounce. You'll see here, this bit here, there is a link here. If you click on that, you will get to the Google page, which will tell you that it's pronounced epistrophe. And it's ending a series of clauses with the same words or phrase. Okay, so let's have a look at this example. Your opinion is idiotic. Your facts are idiotic. Your argument is idiotic. Your voice is idiotic. You are idiotic. That repetition of the same word or phrase. I like this one as well. Reading makes you better at English. Doing homework makes you better at English. Listening to your teacher, listening to me, makes you better at English. Asking questions makes you better at English. A bit of effort will make you better at English. It's repetition, yes, but if you look at each one of those phrases, they are slightly different. It's not like saying, work. The phrases have that repetition of that word all the way through. Okay, so here's your first one. I'm going to pause the video. Try your own. Okay, and we're back. This is so weird, pressing pause every 5 minutes. So, now, this is one of the ones I have interesting times pronouncing. Procataleptic. Yeah, procataleptic. A means of acknowledging and refuting popular opinion or counter-arguments. So this is actually, you'll see an awful lot of people doing this in persuasive speeches. It's usually argued at this point. Occasionally, a person of rash judgment will argue. Notice that term rash, meaning not particularly well thought through. Without having considered all the facts, I can see how someone might think. So what you're doing is you're introducing that opinion, but what you're actually doing is trashing it. Okay, saying, yeah, it's absolute rubbish. Don't even think about it. So, try your own time. Okay, and moving on. A panalepsis. Beginning and ending a sentence with the same word or phrase. Sounds slightly similar to the epistrophe earlier on, but it's about bracketing things together. You alone can change your life. Yes, you alone. To say that you are still investigating the scandal is to tell me that you have nothing to say. Our eyes saw it, but we could not believe our eyes. That was beautiful for descriptive writing as well. The theory sounds all wrong, but if the machine works, we cannot worry about theory. So if you see that, it's almost like bookends on the end of something, keeping that central piece as the focus. Okay, it's another way of using repetition. Okay, and it's powerful in a variety of different ways. So Pause the video and try your own. Okay, next one, antithesis. I love antithesis, or antithesis, as I used to pronounce it when I was younger and did not know better, but it is antithesis. The antithesis of something is a contrast to an idea in the second clause with one in the first. Okay, so it's two things next to each other that are complete opposites. To err is human, to forgive, divine. So err means to make an error. That's where the ERR comes from. Forgive obviously means forgive. Okay, so to make a mistake and to forgive. Contrasting ideas. That short and easy trip made a lasting and profounding change in Harold's outlook. Short, lasting, easy, profound means strong, strength. Okay, works quite nicely. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I cannot do an American accent, as you know, because you've just heard me try. But we've got small step, giant leap. Again, that antithesis idea. Okay, so give it a go. Pause your video. Okay, and moving on. Now, here we go, me pronouncing again. Antiphrasis. Antiphrasis, that's what it is. Antiphrasis. I'm going to keep saying these over and over again until I learn how to pronounce them. Antiphrasis, referring to something as opposite to what it is for emphasis. Sugar rots your teeth, has no essential nutrients, is addictive, causes liver disease, can cause diabetes, and is fattening. It's great, huh? Come here, Tiny, he said to the fat man. It was a cool 115 degrees in the shade. I like these. If you remember reading of Mice and Men in year 8, actually, Lenny Small is huge. Okay, that antiphrasis, you see, I will get there. Okay, it exaggerates via comparison. So there's your extension. Try your own. Pause the video. Okay, moving on. Anacoluthon. Yes, anacoluthon, an embedded clause demonstrating a sudden switch in thinking for effect. Mr. Jones, the imbecile, really hasn't thought his argument through at all. We're going to London, the greatest city in the world, to visit the Globe Theatre. So, yeah, it's just an embedded clause, really. But what it does is it really emphasises that switch in thinking. Okay? So, you can use commas, you can use brackets, you can use hyphens, dashes. I can never remember the difference. I'm sure we'll work it out. But yeah, you can use those things to literally, there's a dash, miss, honestly. Brain, this is what happens when I record these things at 9:30 at night. Basically embedding the clause. So give it a go, try your own, pause the video. Okay, and unpause. Here we go. Antimetaboly. Yes, I got it right. Antimetaboly. So repeating a phrase in reverse order. Eat to live, not live to eat. Socrates said that. I go where I please and I please where I go. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I like that one. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Very, very famous there. We do what we like and we like what we do. Also, very, very excellent piece there. If you can work out the song that comes from, I will be giving you some merits. So, there's your extension task. Give it a go. Okay, moving on. So, this is metonymy. There we go, definitely metonymy. A figure of speech that replaces the name of a thing with the name of something else with which it is closely associated. The suits were at a meeting. So suit basically stands for business people. The pen is mightier than the sword. The pen refers to written words and sword to military force. Let me give you a hand. So you know that I mean hand means help. Another one is I'll be with you in a tick. Tick is short for second, meaning I'll be there as soon as I can be. My children always pick me up on that one. I'm trying to think of any others at the minute. But there's a fair few out there. They basically just represent something that it's associated with. You might refer to a teacher as a board pen. The board pens were in the room. I don't know. See what you can come up with. So there's your extension. Try it yourself and pause the video. Okay, I'm back in the room. Euphemism. I love a good euphemism. It's a polite way of saying something unpleasant or insensitive. You're becoming a little thin on top, meaning you're going bald. He's always tired and emotional after he's been out all night, i.e. he's drunk. We do not hire mentally challenged or stupid people. And he's gone to meet his maker. He has died. If you want some good examples of this one, have a watch of the Monty Python Dead Parrot speech. Okay, Dead Parrot sketch is absolutely hilarious. It's pushing up daisies. It is an ex-parrot. Okay, euphemism is fantastic. And there is so much out there. Macbeth, blood on their hands, euphemism for guilt. There we go. Got to get some Macbeth in there, guys. Okay, so extension, try your own. And if you can't try your own, see whether you can find some classic ones online and see what you can use. Play with them. Develop your own. Okay, pause the video. And we're back. Climax. Now, you should have come across climaxes in Story Mountain when you've been talking about Rhetoric's pyramid. But a climax in terms of rhetoric is basically arranging words, clauses, or sentences in order of increasing importance or weight or emphasis. And this actually works very well with the tricolon as well. You know, you start with the littlest one and you get to the biggest one at the end. Now, this is a quote from Shakespeare, and I have looked it up. Sometimes it says vadeth. In some other versions, it says fadeth. Now, bearing in mind that 16th century England, V and F were actually very interchangeable. I'm going to read it as an F just because otherwise it sounds confusing, but it is written as a V on the text here. It's not a typo. Beauty is but a vain and doubtful good, a shining gloss that fadeth suddenly, a flower that dies when first it begins to bud, a bitter glass that's broken presently, a doubtful good, a gloss, a glass, a flower. Lost, faded, broken, dead within an hour. So if you see, it starts with it's a little bit good, you know, it's untrustworthy. And then it's a gloss that fades suddenly, so it's getting quicker. A flower that dies before it's born. And then a brittle glass that's broken presently. So it's getting more and more severe. And then he repeats it all. And then he goes to dead within an hour. You know, we've gone from being a bit vain to dead, increasing that weight and emphasis. So try your own. Pause the video. And we're back. Now, this is one of these ones. Here we go. A cinderton. A cinderton? A cinderton. I really hope it is a cinderton. I think it's a cinderton. And it's basically a list, but we miss out the and at the end. Okay, gives the idea that the list could go on and on and on, just like me. So I'm bored, tired, fed up, irritated, irked, livid. And you'll notice it's got that ellipsis at the end. Okay, and that just suggests that it's just going to keep on going. And it can be even more effective if you add the ellipsis and then chuck a pithy or rude comment on the end. She is cruel, callous, malicious, spiteful, selfish, egotistic. I could go on, meaning I'm not going to go on. Purely because I don't have time, not because I don't want to. Okay, it's that little bit of a burn there, that kind of you know, I'm just you're not worthy of my time. Get out of my face. Okay, so I'm sure you can write something about me going on and on and on and on, and I will not take offence if you do. So pause it and try your own. Okay. Back. So your task now is another clip to watch. Now this one's about 10 minutes long. It's President Barack Obama's speech about race and politics from 2008. And what we'd like you to do is when you watch the video, we'd like you to identify two things. First of all, how rhetoric is used, what techniques he uses, and how effective they are in persuading his audience. Okay, how do you feel? How does his audience react at the end? Okay. You are the audience as well at this point. So you're going to pause the video, you're going to make some notes, and then you're going to come back and we're going to have a look. So pause the video. And we're back. So here we go. So this is what I'm hoping you noticed. I watched about the first 3 or 4 minutes of this in order to get this information down. just to give you an idea, because I'm not giving you all the answers, because you can do it yourself, you lazies. So how did he use rhetoric? Okay, so the things that I noticed. First of all, he jumps between all three types of rhetoric. He talks about the past, he talks about the present, and he talks about the future. Okay, now you'll notice how he does that really smoothly. And it's basically because it's linked up all the way through with his purpose, which is what he will do if he gets into power. And he uses a variety of different techniques to do this. So I really liked his use of alliteration, which is linking slavery and sin right at the very beginning. He uses tricolons all the time. Okay, I counted at least 4. He uses hopeful modal verbs like should and could with that deliberative rhetoric. And he uses anecdotes. It's really interesting, actually, how he uses that personal story about his life. It shows why he's passionate about this. And it's really very, very interesting, especially when you consider that a lot of the politics that American presidents are elected on is personality. And he really gives that alongside the point of his speech. So, how effective was it and why? Well, I think it's very effective. Okay, you may not think it's effective because that's your opinion, but why was it effective? Okay, so it has a very hopeful tone. Those should and could modal verbs there. Okay, it's there all the time. He's got a positive vision for the future. It's a very personal speech, which makes him sound very honest, and it makes him he frequently moves from the first person, I, into direct address, you and we, and he puts himself in the picture together, which encourages the audience to agree with him because everybody wants a better world, and he is trying to convince them that he can give them a better world. So, I'm just going to go back to that quickly. So, Barack Obama's speech is really, really passionate, and that's what you need to create. So, the next part of this is what you have to do at home. And that task is on Show My Homework. And you are going to be writing your introduction. Now, you should have had a couple of opportunities to do some research, but if you haven't already, you need to do it now. Okay? So, last thing, cooling down. Apologies, that is my printer going off. Gotta love working from home. So, what can you take away from today? So we've got 3 activities here. The first one's really difficult. Well, it goes from the bottom to the top, even though my machine has decided to push it from the opposite way around. So the first thing I'd like you to do, and everybody needs to do this, what you think you're going to write about and talk about. Okay, you need to know this. You can't get any further if you don't. Ask your teacher for help if you're stuck. We're more than happy to discuss this with you. Then, which form of rhetoric focuses on future consequences? If you're stuck on that one, go right the way back to that very first video. That's where that information is. And finally, which 3 of these techniques that we've looked at, that you've written examples of, do you think you could use in your writing this week? And what I'd really like you to do is when you're doing that writing is actually highlight, underline those techniques that you've used. Because when you hand it into your teacher via Show My Homework, we want to be able to see that you are consciously picking these things. Okay? So, in terms of submitting, of course, you can submit via Show My Homework. You can submit via an email to your teacher. And obviously, you submit in any way you can, whether that's via PDF, whether that be a picture, or whether you type your work up and hand it in via a document. Have a lovely day, guys. Have a lovely week. And I shall see you when I see you.